In this video, we will explore how to make a reasoning model like DeepSeek to run faster. As you know, DeepSeek is one of the open source reasoning model, and they did not release just one model. They released multiple models. So their basic model was DeepSeek R1 Then they have released this DeepSeek R1 reasoning model, DeepSeek V3 for chat, and they have also released the distilled version of DeepSeek model. In this video, we are going to focus on this distilled version and what kind of advantage we are going to get out of these models. So as you can see, DeepSeek R1 is coming up with this distilled suffix. In this case, what exactly happened? They have taken Llama 8B and 70B parameter model, also Qwen 1.5B and 30B parameter models. And then they have trained this model from the output of this DeepSeek R1 reasoning model. So they have kind of given these models the capability to reason as well. So this process is basically called distillation, and that's why the name is coming as DeepSeek R1 Distill. Okay, so distillation is one thing, but why particularly we are talking about this model? So now what would happen after distillation? This DeepSeek R1 Distill Llama 70B is going to offer a more accessible and fast way of accessing reasoning capabilities than the full DeepSeek R1. So now the advantage what we are going to get, if we are going to use the distill model, then we are going to get same kind of reasoning accuracy, but we are going to get it faster. If we have this DeepSeek R1 Distill Llama 70B model, but it is hosted on fast inference providers like Groq. So in this case, what would happen, the output is going to come more faster. So in this video, we are going to use this Groq platform. This is like one of the fast inference provider, and we are going to use the model which is going to be hosted on Groq. The next thing is why fast output is required for reasoning models. We know like reasoning models generate high volume of tokens because of chain of thought. So it takes longer to generate a response. You may have experience if you are working with any kind of non-generic or reasoning models, then you are going to get a faster response out of it. But if you are going to work with the reasoning model, then the response what is going to come out of it, it's going to take some time because it has to think it before generating a response. So definitely there is going to be some waiting time for end users. Lagging response can cause frustration, whereas the fast response engages users. Also, the other advantage what you can get is you can still use the reasoning model to build real-time applications. Otherwise, the only use case that you can come up with is building batch kind of application where you have some time to generate a final output. But if you are able to get a faster response, then we can use it to build near real-time applications as well. Now, if you go to the Groq website, then we will see two distilled model over there. One is going to be this DeepSeek R1 Distill Llama 70B, and another model is going to be DeepSeek R1 Distill Llama 70B SpecDec. So let's talk a bit about this SpecDec. What exactly is a SpecDec? So SpecDec is basically speculative decoding. It is a process to speed up the inference process of large language models like 70B. We can take like any of the models, we can apply this speculative decoding, and we can speed up the process of generating a response out of these models. Now, what exactly happens in speculative decoding? So in this process, first of all, we take a draft model which is going to be faster and smaller. We just use it to quickly generate a draft sequence of tokens. So for the given input, it will quickly generate the output for us, and after that, all that particular output we pass it to a target model which is going to be larger and more accurate. So this target model is going to verify the draft sequence which is going to be generated from this particular model, and it processes the draft sequence in parallel. So rather than taking it one by one, it just take all the draft sequence and process it in parallel. Then it's going to check it if the draft tokens are likely to be correct according to the target models, and then it checks the tokens accuracy based on its own understanding because it is a bigger model. So we are expecting it to have more understanding than the smaller model. So it will just validate all the tokens and then it will accept or correct it. So what would happen in the final step, some tokens are going to be accepted by target model. So in case of high confidence on the generated token, on some of the tokens, if it feels the confidence is low, then it will correct it. This is also one of the technique using which we can make any of the models to generate response faster. So now if I ask you which model is going to be faster between these two, Llama 70B and SpecDec, considering both are going to be hosted on fast inference provider like Groq, then both models are going to be distilled model. So definitely the output is going to be faster if we compare it with the DeepSeek R1. And then the additional thing is going to be applied in this particular model is this speculative decoding. So in this case, the output from this particular SpecDec model is going to be faster if we compare it with this DeepSeek R1 Distill Llama 70B 70B model, because we are enhancing it by performing this speculative decoding on this model. And same is being reflected in the artificial analysis benchmarking also. Here you could see they have compared the output speed of all the different fast inference provider where this model was hosted, DeepSeek R1 Distill Llama 70B, and you can see output tokens per second higher is better is somewhere over here. But if you see the spec decoding one, so it is kind of leading in the race and it is beating all other models hosted on all these fast inference providers. Also, there is another analysis where you could see total response time, and this is for DeepSeek R1 Distill Llama 70B, and this is related to end-to-end seconds to output, and they have evaluated for 100 tokens and they are saying lower is better. Even in this case, you could see Groq is over here, but the SpecDec is one of the top 2 models. And now if we see on the quality index how this distillation is enhancing the capability of open source models, this is the quality index, and as you can assume all the reasoning model are going to be at the top, O1, O3 mini and DeepSeek R1, because they have those chain of thought integrated into their architecture. So obviously the output what is being generated from these reasoning model is going to be at a higher end. But using this distillation, what is happening, like we are taking this open source model which has the quality index as 74, but after training it on this DeepSeek R1 reasoning output, quality has been enhanced from 74 to 85. So now this particular distillation Llama 70B model is in the top 4. Even O1 mini you could see is coming after this. So that's the impact of distillation. It also shows we can convert any kind of open source model to a reasoning model using the distillation process and enhance their quality output. The final thing would be, what about the data security, because we are dealing with DeepSeek models, because we are going to use all this fast inference provider. In this case, your data is not going to send to DeepSeek servers in China because we are not directly dealing with the main DeepSeek models. We are going to use model which is going to be hosted on Groq, and Groq is a US based company, and they have written like they are going to temporarily store this data in memory and clear it as soon as your session is completed. And they do this not for training, but just to provide fast inference. Now let's see, if you have to build an application, then how you can build it. So for that I will go to my Visual Studio. So here you could see I have written a sample code. We have already covered Groq in our playlist. You need to create a key on their platform and then have to utilize it over here to call like any of the model. Still it's going to be free, so you are not going to get charged anything. So you can just get a key, set it up in your environment variable, and then we can go ahead and call this model. So just to show you, I have written a very basic application. First thing what we have to do is initialize our client. So we are just initializing our client by calling this Groq. Groq is very compatible with OpenAI SDK. So whatever code we were passing in OpenAI SDK, same we can pass it over here. As you can see, I'm still passing this client.chat completions create. Under this we can pass the model hosted on Groq, and then we do have a message, and here I'm just asking a very basic question: why is inference speed is important for reasoning models? And then at the end I'm just getting an output. I have also created one endpoint on top of that so that we can capture the seconds taking to generate a response, and that code is over here. I'm using Flask to create this endpoint, and this is going to be normal get endpoint, and here I'm just calling our method what we have declared over there. So let's focus on this code and let's see okay what kind of models are available and what we can pass it over here. For that we can go to this Groq Cloud documentation. Here we do have a model, and under this model then you can see they have some production model. At the bottom we do have the preview model. So as of now all this distill model whatever we talked about is not production ready, but still we can just use it and see like how it works. So here you could see the first is this DeepSeek R1 Distill Quinn 32B, then we do have a SpecDec over here, and then we do have this Llama B. You could see one more model over here which is a SpecDec. So they have applied this speculative decoding directly on Llama 3.370B model to make it a bit faster. You can use any of the models from here, or you can use the models from production, whatever you see, but here let's focus on this one. So I'm just going to take this value from here and I can just pass it over here. This is going to be my Llama 70B. Then I can just go ahead and run this code. So my server has been started on this particular endpoint, so I can go and hit this endpoint, and you could see like we have got the output. So you could see the amount of text which has been generated over here. So DeepSeek also generated thinking token. So the thinking token got stopped over here, and after that we are getting an output. So a lot of tokens has been generated, and that has been generated only just 4.5 seconds. You just try to do the same with the main DeepSeek R1 model or with any of the open source model, then it can take around minutes to generate a response. But because we are using a Groq hosted model, which is a distilled version, so that's why we are able to get this response faster. Now, as we have seen in our analysis, if we use the SpecDec model, then the output is going to be more faster than whatever we are getting over here. So let's try to use this. If this model is available, then we would be able to get the output. If it is not available as of now for usage, then we won't be able to get the output. We probably have to wait for this model's availability. But let's try that, and we have got error. It means you could see over here the model DeepSeek R1 SpecDec does not exist, or you do not have access to it. So I'm not able to access this model. But just to show you the capability of SpecDec, and this is not a reasoning model, but still we can get the output because our question is not that much difficult. Just to show you the impact of SpecDec, I can take this particular model and I can pass it over here. These models are definitely don't work as a reasoning model, and they are not going to generate that much output. So obviously the output is going to be faster if we compare with the reasoning model. But because it is hosted on Groq, and then on top of that we are applying this SpecDec, the output should be much faster even if we just run Llama 3.370b on Groq. So let me just go over here, hit this endpoint once more, and you could see like I have just got a response in 1.2 seconds, which is way faster. And because this is not a reasoning model, so we are getting plain response, and even if you see the text is also not much. So this was expected. Just to show you the impact of this SpecDec, let me just call this particular model, which is going to be plain Llama model, and you see the output is coming in 2.5 seconds. Using SpecDec, we are kind of reducing our time by 50%. This is the impact of using, distilled version model hosted on Groq, and then, do the speculative coding on top of it. You would be able to get very fast response even from reasoning models. That's all what we have in this video. Thank you for watching.